Good morning, dear honorable speaker, research enthusiast participants. Welcome to your most expected research idea series. I'm Tanuja Chakraborty, campus research co-ambassador of Gobeshok Hote Chai B Researcher BD platform from Chittagong University of Engineering and Technology. It's my pleasure to host today's program. Before diving into the live session, I will introduce Gobeshok Hote Chai B Researcher BD platform, its mission, vision, and activities. গবেষক হতে চায় বি রিসার্চার বিডি is an online-based non-profit open platform directed by some world-class scholars. They are tirelessly working to promote research and guide young researchers in Bangladesh. Its vision is to leverage research in higher educational institutes for sustainable development all over the world. This novel effort has been initiated by Mr. Mohammad Sabir Hussain. He is working as an assistant professor at the Department of Computer Science and Engineering of Chittagong University of Engineering and Technology, Chuet, Bangladesh. Universities are the place for knowledge, creation, and dissemination. However, we know that the universities are going in the traditional way. Although the final year students do their thesis or project for obtaining this certificate, but research and publication at undergraduate level are rare. Mr. Sabir Hussain worked in a different way. By his effort, the second year students of the CSE Department of Chuet have published more than 10 articles in international conferences and journals. This type of accomplishment is rare not only in Bangladesh but also in first world universities. Being perplexed by this achievement, he has created this platform to diverge the enthusiasm among all the students who are interested in higher studies. They assist researchers by sharing research related resources such as books, papers, websites, etc., conducting online or offline training or courses, arranging seminars, workshops or webinars, research collaboration, arranging internship opportunities. Previously, they have conducted the country's first free, complete online training on how to become a researcher. This course covers the basic concepts, tools, and techniques required to become a researcher from zero knowledge. The recorded lectures on YouTube received more than 30,000 views within 10 months only. Then they have started the most demanding online free course titled Python for Research from any discipline on 31st April 2021. We know that selecting research ideas is the most important step in research methodology. However, finding a research idea or topic is a challenging job for the research enthusiasts and new learners. To assist them in finding ideas easily, we are organizing this research idea series. Research scholars from home and abroad of different disciplines will deliver lectures related to his research expertise or domain knowledge. Basically, speakers will share trending research topics, skills, tools, and techniques required to start his current and past research projects, publication, guidelines for a specific field. We have a plan to cover all possible research areas in future. Now I am going to introduce today's session and speaker. It is the eighth lecture of the Research Idea series titled as Data Science and Machine Learning Research, Tools, Techniques, and Research Directions. The key highlights of this lecture are basic concepts of data science and machine learning, different data science and machine learning tools, data science and machine learning related researches, how to prepare as a data science and machine learning researcher. Today's honorable speaker is Professor Dr. Mohammad Shamsul Arifin. He is affiliated with the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Chittagong University of Engineering and Technology, Bangladesh. Earlier, he was the head of the department. He is the vice chair activity of IEEE SBDC, senior member of IEEE, fellow IEB and BCS, member of ACM. He received his Doctor of Engineering degree in Information Engineering from Hiroshima University, Japan, with support of the scholarship of MEXT Japan. As a part of his doctoral research, Dr. Arifin sir was with IBM Yamato Software Laboratory, Japan. His research includes privacy preserving data publishing and mining, distributed and cloud computing, big data management, multilingual data management, semantic web, object-oriented system development, and IT for agriculture and environment. He has more than 110 referred publications in international journals, book series, and conference proceedings. Professor Arifin sir earlier involved in many professional activities such as chairman of Bangladesh Computer Society, Chittagong branch, vice president of BCS National Committee, executive committee member of IAB Computer Engineering Division, advisor, Bangladesh Robotic Foundation. He was also a member of the pre-feasibility study team of Chuet IT Business Incubator, first campus-based IT business incubator in Bangladesh. The lecture will start now. There will be a question answering session after the lecture. You can ask questions by commenting on this live program on our page. Now, I'm requesting our honorable speaker to start today's lecture.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your nice introduction. It's my pleasure to be here to present my talk on data science and machine learning research, tools, techniques, and research directions. Before the start of my delivery or of my talk, I want to thank Gobeshok Hote Chai, founded by Mr. Sabir Hossain, for his nice initiative for forwarding the research of young researchers in our country. It's a great initiative and we shall have every support for this. So if I have some time later on, I shall try to give some focus about this. So what I want to say, this topic, and already you said or you mentioned a lot about me. So this is if some sort of affiliations of mine. So what I want to say, today we have delivered a lecture on data science and machine learning related topic. That means you have tools, technique, and research directions. It will be around 1 hour lectures, including question and answering, and I hope you will enjoy the lecture. So if we consider data science, machine learning without giving any more introduction or any other words, I am directly going to the concepts of data science. So what is the concept? Before going to the concept or detailed definition, please give a look. This figure is most often used to show the that means data science related or data science research domain. So actually, if you see this figure, this is we can see that data science is a multidisciplinary domain. That means you need the knowledge of statistics, visualization, data mining, database, data processing, many other issues is important for you. So at first I showed this picture for giving an insight, for making you aware about the basic, that means basic structure of data science research. So if we consider data science research, so what is data science? Data, we know the concept of data, data and information from our early stage of computing, we are well aware about this. So what is data science? Data science is a concept used to tackle large volume of data and includes data cleansing, preparation, and analysis. That means when you consider data science, you must have to perform some pre-processing task, preparation, and then analysis. Actually, when analysis part comes, you will find the relation of data mining with machine learning. We shall give a focus in that topic within very in the later part of our discussion. So actually, for a data science, you require the knowledge of programming, mathematics, statistics, as well as domain knowledge. Actually, sir, nowadays,
I will interrupt you, sir.
Hello?
Sir, your slide is not invisible.
It's
sir,
not
your
visible?
slide is invisible. No, no, sir.
So you have said that. I'm not sure why it is happening. It should be visible. Oh, sorry,
no,
sir.
This is invisible now.
I have earlier did that.
No, this is not visible now.
Now visible?
No, sir. Now.
Now?
Now this is visible, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
So, okay, another just for a while. Okay, So thank you very much. There was some problem in that means sharing and some issues. I thought it was in my that means you send it in your room. Okay, there's some problem. So this is the consideration. Don't worry. So for data science, you need the knowledge of programming at the very then mathematics, statistics, and domain knowledge. That means domain knowledge. That means you can see that from the concept of domain knowledge, data science can be applied in a variety of domain. We shall discuss this in our upcoming slides. So what is a data scientist? A data scientist is simply a person who can write code, understand statistics, derive insights from data. So this is the concept of data scientist. So in general, actually, you can say who is a data scientist? This is from a data scientist is simply a person who can write code in any well-known languages. Here are Python, Java, SQL, Hadoop, many we have mentioned. Later part we shall give focus which one should be considered by a data scientist. And so then for data storage, querying, summarization, visualization, how that means efficiently and where and enough to insights, so business decision. So a data scientist is simply a person who can write code in different languages for data storage, querying, summarization, visualization in an efficient way at databases, cloud, or any other storages, and understand enough statistics to derive insights from data so business can make decision. So it is the role of a data scientist. So if we consider the skill required for data scientist, actually these are the skills required for a data scientist. We shall give knowledge of machine learning. So the point comes here, data science and machine learning, actually there are some overlapping, or if you adopt machine learning concepts in your analysis, then it can perform much better forecasting. So knowledge of machine learning, a strong knowledge of Python, SAS, RAR, Scala. At least one of these should be known by a data scientist. Hands-on experience in SQL database coding. Actually, SQL and now another type of database technology known as NoSQL techniques, ability to work on unstructured data. In fact, working with unstructured data is important for a data scientist because data nowadays, in most of the cases, in unstructured format. Okay, then understand multiple analytical functions. This should be understood by a data scientist. I shall give a guideline how to prepare yourself for a data scientist in the later part of my presentation. Then another important topic, what I want to give you that means some side. One is data scientist, if we consider this. Another is data analyst. Actually, in big companies, they differentiate the role of a data scientist and data analyst. However, in our country or the mid-level company, low-level company, they do not have such type of a strong differentiation. So in this case, a data analyst is a specialist who is able to take a specific question or topic, discuss what the data looks like, and represent the data to relevant stakeholders in the company. So it is the role of a data analyst. So if we consider the skill of a data analyst, actually these skills are also needed by a data scientist. However, their role is somehow different, although there are a strong overlapping between the roles of a data scientist as well as a data analyst. So come to the concepts of machine learning. So what is a machine learning actually? Machine learning is the use of algorithms. When you consider machine learning, actually you will find there are some relation between machine learning and data science. So machine learning is the use of algorithm to extract data, learn from it, and then forecast future trends for that topic. That means you must have, when you are considering machine learning, you must have some forecasting information, some knowledge discovery from this data. Some examples of machine learning implementation, if you consider at Facebook, we all are using Facebook. Facebook, actually, they are considered behavioral information. They gather behavioral information. How are you clicking? How are you visiting in the website? How are you commenting? This information they are gathering. And based on this information, the predicts your interests and recommends articles and notifications on the news feed. Similarly, if you consider Amazon recommends products based on machine learning, recommendation system is a big part of machine learning. Then another, Netflix recommends movies based on past behaviors based on machine learning algorithms. So these are the some examples of machine learning task. In fact, nowadays, almost all the big companies are using machine learning and data science simultaneously to generate knowledge from the data. So if we consider machine learning, actually we have given this figure earlier as well. Actually here we have machine learning and data science. We can find that there are some overlapping among this, and both of them actually require same type of knowledge. Even in some cases, in case of machine learning, you need some more knowledge in implementation. That means that can predict some, you will find some algorithms, those must be known by a machine learning expert. It is important. So then one thing what I want to say, I have to give some focus about this point, and the point is on data science. We know data science already, we already knew something about data science. So nowadays, actually, the scenario is that data volume is very, very large. There are some, that means variation in the data. Volume is increasing in a very, that means in an exponential rate. And there are many level of uncertainty in data. So all these issues bring a point that is related to big data. So big data, it is also a concept that is highly related to data science. Nowadays, when you are dealing with or when you are speaking about data science, you cannot ignore the concepts of big data. Okay, because big companies are dealing with big data. So data science is an umbrella term that encompasses all of the techniques and tools used during the life cycle stages of useful data. This is the definition of data science. However, big data, you have to consider data, big data falls within the data science category. However, in that case, you have to consider large data sets that require specialized and often innovative technologies and techniques in order to efficiently use the data. So it is the big data. So big data, when you handle big data, you cannot think in the general way what we were thinking or still we are thinking. In that way, you cannot handle. You need to know some other additional technologies. Although big data concepts is very old, is invented in early 2000, in fact 2003, when Hadoop framework was introduced, version 1. So for handling big data, although 17 to 20 years already going to 17 years, 17, 18 years are going to be passed. But in our country, actually, in this domain, there are many data science research, but there is a strong focus, not a strong focus, or there is not very good focus in big data related research. But it's time to start research in this field as well. So big data, when we are considering big data, I shall not give in detail, but you have to get some, especially some information about big data. So if we consider the technologies, what was the technology scenario? Earlier technology, think about early 2000. So at the time we have telephone, we have desktop computers, we have car, that means those are not smart. Nowadays we have telephone, we have a smartphone. Actually we are getting smarter. And when we are getting smarter, we are contributing a lot of data in the global internet in any form, either in that means social network use or some other issues. So we have desktop. Earlier we were using desktop. Now we are also using desktop, but we have a big platform known as cloud platform. Cloud platform we are using, and we are storing data in cloud. We are accessing information. We are putting information. We are using different software from cloud. All these are contributing data. Then if we consider car, earlier our cars were not smart, but nowadays all the cars are smart because we have IoT devices installed in the car. So these cars are also generating data. So if we give this is the change in technology. Nowadays, almost every object, they have their identity in global internet. So big data, if we give the formal definition of big data, so large data that becomes too difficult process. it using the traditional system. Traditional system means the systems that we are habituated in Bangladesh, we are still habituated to use. This is known as traditional system. So traditional system use করে যে the system or the data that cannot be handled with traditional system is known as big data. You will find the references from where we have adopted the concepts in almost, I think in every site this will be. So big data. Big data, if we give definition in terms of collection of data sets so large and complex that it becomes difficult to process using on-hand database system tools or traditional data processing applications. This is the concept of big data. However, in this point, I want to I want to try to attract your attention. So you do not think that this is, it requires huge computing power, many issues. How would I start about big data related research? Actually, we should not think in that out of box thinking. We do not need to think in that way. We have definitely some way to start big data related research within our capacity. I shall give a look in that part in in the later part of my lecture. So nowadays, actually, we all are familiar about a data type known as a structured data. Data that we are considering in relational database management system, where we are considering that means row column format. In that case, this data is actually a structured data. So big data framework handled with three different types of data: structured data, unstructured data, and semi-structured data. So unstructured data is the data that we are obtaining from that means social networks, as well as from different types of application, music, movie, pictures, X-rays. And this type of data are actually unstructured data. Then there are semi-structured data. These are the data in the document data, then data in the email. These are considered as semi-structured data. So all these data can be handled by our, that means big data framework, where only structured data can be handled in our relational database management system. So all of us should have a focus. Those are interested in data science research, they must have to keep an eye of big data related research. So when we are characterizing big data, I shall not give a big description about this. You can give a look in different slides online and many other issues because we have time constraint. So when characterizing big data, there was earlier 4V, then 5V. Now actually it is not 5V. It is now we are defining 7 Vs: velocity, volume, variety, value, veracity, variability, and visualization. These are the terms used for representing big data nowadays. So when we shall have a concrete lecture, only a strong focus on big data, considering 2 hours, 3 hours, then we can give a lecture on big data and explain this in well organized way. But you do not need to be worried because these information are well obtainable from, that means, different sources, online sources. So where is big data? If we consider big data, actually big data, me, you, almost everyone nowadays who has a phone, if a smartphone, he is contributing in big data. Actually users are users contributing, application contributing, system contributing, then sensors, they are also contributing big data. Okay, so these are the, if we give a look, web and social media, machine, big transaction data, health care claims, telecommunications calls, detailed records, utility billing records, biometrics information, facial recognition, genetics, human generated call center, voice recordings, email, electronic medical records. All these are actually considering as big data, and they are contributing. These are the also the sources of big data. So if you give a look about the internet, what is happening actually, if we consider 1 minute in global internet, you will find that only in 1 minute, very small time, Facebook 1.3 million logged in, 1.3 million. We are passing 1 minute of time, you will find there are 1.3, that is 130 lakh people are logging in 1 minute. 19 million texts sent when we are considering WhatsApp. So this is the happening. 1.1 million spent online. $1.1 million is spending. That means almost how can we say this amount of dollar are spending in 1 minute in the for online shopping. So all these are incorporating or adding the data. These are the sources of big data. So then another important source of big data, another important source of big data is IoT, Internet of Things. Actually, why I am incorporating this, we are dealing with the data, so we must have to know the source of the data. If we do not know the source of the data, major sources of the data nowadays, how can we concentrate in our research? How can we develop our tools for this? For this, we have incorporated this. In fact, big data, IoT, these are machine learning, data science, these are also the technologies of fourth industrial revolution. I think you are all familiar with this topic, although how to handle this, actually there is no strong focus in our country till now. So Internet of Things is the network of physical objects. That means I have a device that has physical existence in global internet can be treated as an IoT device. It is the consideration. So what I want to say to you, if we consider devices, vehicles, buildings, and other items as a refrigerator, any item that has global existence or existence in the global internet, we can say that it is an IoT device. So here again given evaluation, actually link is under this slide, under this link has gone, reference link. So we have in this era, earlier pre-internet time, we have human to human time, then WWW in 1994, Tim Berners-Lee introduced the concept of WWW, then internet service to, then internet of people, social media. Now we are using Internet of Things. Now we are using. So this is the evaluation. Now we are in that means in a time where we cannot ignore the importance of this. Even I am ignoring. Internet of Things will collect actually. These are collecting my data. Actually, where I am aware or unaware. As for example, you are moving through a street. There may be some surveillance camera. Those cameras are keeping pictures, and they are also sending some level of information. Even you are not aware. So we have to consider this. In all of this, actually, all these are contributing data. Nowadays, biggest sources of data contribution are internet IoT devices as well as big data platforms. These are the two largest sources of data. So we must have to know about this. Okay, so people connecting with things, if we consider earlier, we may have sensors installed in my body, then this information can be sent to the, that means via internet we can send to the healthcare center, even some other places, it can be sent. So there is an interesting word or interesting, that means words going around the IoT communities, IoT research community. That is, some days we may have some small robot or will be installed in our body, or they can easily communicate. They can easily circulate or move through my that means blood cells, blood. How can in that case, and they can send all types of information about me. So that can also be helpful as well as dangerous. So this is one. Then IoT things connecting with things. If we consider if it is a device, these are the devices. These are also connecting with the devices. It can happen. This is the gas station. Nowadays, actually, we have many words like this. Where is the gas station? It can easily found nearest gas station, police station. Many information is obtainable. So we have already completed some focus about data science and machine learning related topic information, basics of machine learning, data science, big data, and IoT. Now we have to give a look about data science and machine learning techniques. So what are the techniques about this? Actually, directly, if you want to be a data science and machine learning techniques, these are the techniques in broad. There are around 45 different techniques. This is the reference. So you need to know at least some of the techniques, at least 10-20 techniques you need to know. You may not know all the scenarios, but you need to be familiar with most of this. Most of this when you are dealing with, as for example, if you do not work with graph data, you can ignore the concept like this. But these are the techniques you need to be a familiar one when you are dealing with data science and machine learning related research. Because linear regression, it is required data science, and then logistic regression. I think you may find many of you are aware about some of these. Then confidence interval, test of hypothesis, pattern recognition, clustering. We know what clustering techniques. There are many subclasses of clustering. I am not going in that case. Supervised learning, unsupervised learning, many issues. Support vector machine. Then nearest neighbors, classification, linkage analysis, association rule mining, scoring engine, segmentation. There are many issues. So nowadays, these are the techniques. And if you want to be a data science research and machine learning researcher, then what will you need? You must have very good knowledge about that means different supervised learning, unsupervised learning, reinforcement learning. This should be known well. With a strong insight, Nowadays, another consideration, whether you are a machine learning, whether you are doing your research on image data, whether you are doing your research on web data, even when are you dealing with the geographic data and information, you need to know the topics. And nowadays you will find a big number of researchers are considering a deep learning framework. So you can know about this. So what will be my question in this when you are considering deep learning, CNN, and then LSTM or other techniques? Actually, you need to know how to handle your data. You must have very good insight about the data. Then features engineering. This should be very well considered by yourself. In broad, these are the machine learning technique and data science techniques. So nowadays, actually, recent trend. What is the recent trend? The recent trend is this. Actually, why? Because nowadays we have very big volume of data, as well as what we are considering. We have a huge variety of data. So we need to consider predictive algorithm to distributed architecture. Our simple system may not handle this distributed architecture. Then AI, pattern recognition. We are well aware about pattern recognition. However, nowadays the scenario of pattern recognition changes, because patterns also changing continuously, as well as volume is also increasing. So you need to handle all this. Then deep learning. Nowadays when machine learning comes, many of the researchers go to deep learning, because in deep learning model, in most of the cases, you need to do very well features engineering. In fact, in the deep learning model, if you develop your own deep learning model, it is very tough task. But inside the model, the research, those are going around us. We are not giving actually how developing deep learning model. Actually, we are dealing with different types of features. So deep learning is a very potential area nowadays. Then data science automation, it is another issue. Leveraging data from sensors, IoT data. It is also very common, because we are in the area now, fourth industrial revolution. This type of data is very common. Actually, now even today is the time where we need to deal with, that means sensor data, web data, that means so from social network data, when we are doing our research with data science. So we have to handle with big data framework. We have to deal with big data framework. Then turning unstructured data into structured data and data standardization. It is another big issue. When data is unstructured or semi-structured, if we can convert this in some form of some structured form, it is also very good research domain. Then blending multiple predictive models. Then intensive data and model simulation to study complex systems such as weather using HPC. weather forecasting, actually you need huge level of computing power, and computing is necessary. So weather forecasting, it also depends on many issues, many features. So these are the recent trend in global arena. We, the researchers from our country or even from developing countries, should move in this type of competition, because in our country you will find almost there is no so much this type of computing actually, or dealing with this type of data in larger volume. We, the researchers doing research, what is the data volume? Can we say we are dealing with 100 terabyte or thousands of terabyte of data? I think we may not find so many in our country, even in the developing countries, but we have to focus in that arena. In data science and machine learning tools, if we consider the tools, so to be a machine learning data science researcher, you must have to know some tools. There is no option. If we consider, there are Python, then Spark with machine learning, Hadoop framework, and then SAS, SQL, and NoSQL. So you can see here, all the data science researchers, even what I want to say, all the students from computer science domain or any other domain, nowadays every student of every domain must know at least one programming language. My suggestion to be, you have to very good knowledge in Python, Java. At least Python should be well understood by all of you. So for understanding Python, it is better you can also learn procedure-oriented language one, such as C, then object-oriented C++, and Python is also in this category. So you have to learn at least three different languages, at least two different categories of language. One is a structured language or procedure-oriented language, another is object-oriented language. In the object-oriented language, you can learn Java. If you learn a programming language well, any other programming language, switching at any other programming language is not difficult at all. Python is very helpful for a data science researcher. Please do it, because it has many built-in functions. Those can be directly used in your data analysis or data prediction. So what I say, in any of this case, please try to learn any of the languages, no other way. Even when you are considering big data, then you need to know some framework, Hadoop framework. Then in Hadoop, we have a MapReduce framework, and you need to know some NoSQL databases, structured query languages. You need to know NoSQL database. When you deal with big data, you need to know about NoSQL databases, MongoDB, Cassandra, HBase. These are the main examples of that means NoSQL databases. There are many NoSQL databases. So to be a data science researcher, even a researcher in any domain, my suggestion, the student or researcher must have good knowledge in some of these tools. My recommendation, Python should be learned in well organized way, very master in Python must be. Then when you are considering some other things, you need to know Spark. Actually, Spark is also a consideration that also runs on that means Hadoop framework. Then you have to consider that means MapReduce framework, although it becomes older. Then Hadoop framework, actually you need to, Hadoop is that means Apache Hadoop, we know about this. So you need to know this framework, how we have to run MapReduce, that means programs. Then how can we run programs in Spark framework? This should be known. Don't think that these are very difficult. Definitely these are not difficult. If you can install that means big data framework, that Hadoop framework, execute some simple programs, then it will be very easier in later part of you to run larger programs. So no way to escape. My suggestion, please give a strong look about this tool. If someone is expert in some of these tools, he will be that means he will face almost no problem in data science related works or data science related tools development. So what is R? Actually, I shall not give a detail. A popular language in data science, actually, it is used for It is used for mainly data mining purpose. R is a very good language for data science related research. Mainly it is used for data mining. Top analysts, if we consider this, R, if we consider here, this is, it is actually little bit older information. So if we consider R was the that means in the top position, in that cases Hadoop was not so high, it is around 215. So Hadoop or big data framework is not so high. What's the reason? Can you say? Because we have not, even in the global arena, we have a law, we have huge crisis of dealing with big data. So actually, this is the reason Hadoop is not at the very high level. But in coming days, at present time, actually, if you look, you will find it has been increased a lot. Then this is the rank of the languages. If you understand, this is the ranking already considered. It is considered in 2016. You can language C is even at the toppest one, because C language, if you know C, you can easily switch any other language. In fact, in the world, you can go in any other language. So these are the languages you have to give focus. We have already studied C, Java also in as a part of our object-oriented course. We are learning Java. Python are also introduced in many universities as a component of machine learning course lab. Then C++, C#. You are already, actually, if you are familiar with these languages, you are potential enough to continue your data science research. I should not give a detail in about R, we have said. Then Python. Python is widely used general purpose high level programming language. So actually it has a code readability as well as it has the concept. Actually it has many that means libraries, Python library, those can be easily incorporated to perform different types of analysis. So built-in library is very much helpful for analysis, as I already said. Then Hadoop distributed file system, actually I will say only some words about Hadoop. When you consider big data framework, you have to deal with Hadoop. Actually, when we consider Hadoop, we have version 3 that released in 2017. First version of Hadoop introduced in 2003. Then version 2, 2012 or 13, I have forgotten. So it has been considered. Actually, Hadoop it has two components, basically major two components or core components in Hadoop. One is HDFS, another is MapReduce. HDFS is nothing else, it is the file system, Hadoop distributed file system. You can store data in this file system. So then MapReduce framework is the computing framework. So these two are the core components of Hadoop. So in Hadoop distributed file system, we should not go in detail about this at this moment. Just know it is a file system. You can store your data in Hadoop file system. Then MapReduce framework will run over this to process your data. However, for running the code in MapReduce framework, you have to write your own code segments based on your problem. So these are the two main components of the HDFS. So in case of HDFS, we have that means name node, data node, secondary name node, many other issues. So at this moment, we shall not discuss about this. But the thing that HDFS framework, it is a file system. MapReduce is a computing framework. Then we have many other issues: Scope, Flume, Kafka, many other issues we have to deal. Pig, Hive. There are many issues we need to deal with for big data related, that means tools development or big data related data execution. Then I want to say something about NoSQL. NoSQL is a very important part of that means big data related research, because data related to big data, a NoSQL database can handle unstructured, semi-structured and structured data, where SQL database can handle only structured data. So when you are considering Facebook, Google, Amazon, all of them are considering that means NoSQL databases for dealing with big volume of data, providing response in real time, as well as when they are performing the analysis of their big volume of data. So these are the issues. So it is the comparison of NoSQL and RDBMS. We, the researcher, almost all the students in IT domain are familiar with RDMS, even from other domain also familiar with this. But NoSQL is also a database. That doesn't mean NoSQL will replace RDBMS. No, NoSQL will not replace RDBMS. RDBMS will be mainly for core data or transactional data will be handled by RDBMS, and analysis purpose or real-time response in this issue we have to use NoSQL databases. NoSQL databases. How many more time I can get? Okay, data science and machine learning related research. In fact, nowadays, whenever you consider a domain of research, in general, you can give some insight or you can apply some data science and or machine learning related that means topic, and you can get some insight so that you can continue data science and machine learning research in that domain. Almost every cases you can do this. So if you consider the research, actually research is a systematic process to obtaining and confirming new and reliable knowledge. I think you know it should be systematic and orderly. It should have generate new knowledge. This is the general definition, applies to all the disciplines. So this is all the disciplines. So data science and machine learning related research can be, you can obtain some, that means something in any field, almost any field, where you can apply data science or even machine learning related algorithms. When you have data, actually when you are continuing research, you must have some data. So when you have data, you can perform analysis. Our researchers from our other domains, as for example, research from civil engineering, mathematics, electrical and mechanical engineering, other even sociology, even other domain people, they also have very good that means possibility to conduct research in data science and in machine learning. So if you consider real-time and embedded system, in this case you can also find that means real-time data you are generating, embedded system. In this system you have software modules. So every case your sensor system, they are generating data, mobile computing, control theory and system, formal methods. In these cases actually machine learning and data science tools can improve, or conducting some research or giving some focus in this will help you. So these are the general research areas, but you can use machine learning in this area. Bioinformatics, computational biology is a significant field of data science and machine learning research. Bioinformatics, you have used data. Then if we consider computer graphics, we know visual environment, visualization, tracking, how are you doing? Your machine learning without using proper machine learning, without developing proper model, actually you tracking virtual environments, visualization will not work for you. So these are the big issues actually. Then if you consider collaborative work, in collaborative work, we are well aware about the research. Actually, I can say in almost every domain, you can consider research, those will focus data science and machine learning. You just to design your problem, how you can adapt this. Geometric computing, solid modeling, in case of high performance computing, you can do actually. When you consider scientific computing, when you consider parallel algorithms, you have to execute your data. Okay. Then these are the machine learning, data mining. Directly you consider data integration, Internet of Things, knowledge discovery. Then these are the issues we can consider. Distributed system, internet measurements, these are the issues. Then if we consider this research areas. In this case, we can consider cloud computing, security. When you are considering robotics, definitely you must have adapt machine learning techniques. We should not consider only mechanical robot. Think about robot Sophia. Have you heard the name of robot Sophia? How can it decide decisions? Definitely machine learning techniques. It needs to process huge volume of data to take its decision. So these are the issues. In software field, you must have to develop different models for detecting bugs and many other things in software. Natural language processing highly related to machine learning related research. Okay. So in our country, if we consider common research field perspective to our country, I am saying artificial intelligence, we are focusing here. Many issues, image analysis, data analysis, many things we are considering. Database, data mining, embedded and mobile system. In this system, now a recency mining now is a concept where we are using that means machine learning tools to predict mobile behavioral pattern or some other issues related to mobile data. Human computer interaction, then languages, compilers and runtime systems. Robotics, huge use of machine learning for making it intelligent as well as data science. Security, then for making a system secure, we can do this. So these are the basic consideration. Basic consideration where you can adapt machine learning. However, if you consider one thing, the topic in the field of big data, it is from the surface level consideration. You can big data for healthcare, education, agriculture. You will find many research are going around the globe about these topics. So you can give a look about this. We have collected around 400 papers to give some insights about each of the topic. So how the research gap we can find and make some contribution. These are the some case studies. That means those are in real type, or that means those are already implemented big data framework, web and e-tailing. These are the company names. These are the government, these are the company names. They have done this. Already they had applied. You can get telecommunication. There are many initiatives about the globe. Those already adopted big data. Unfortunately, in our country, we have not yet focused. We are late, already late enough about this. Then if you bank and financial sector, transportation services, hotels and food delivery services, retail, and many other cases. So when you consider Internet of Things related research, you need to deal with many issues, security, privacy, then architecture and dependencies. This should be considered because when IoT comes, data will be collected with the sensors. So this is very big issues. You can focus when you core level in the structure level focus. If you consider these are the area you can focus. However, if you consider the existing, that means already we have the infrastructure, but we want to use IoT related research. That means road accident mitigation and transportation safety. In this case, actually, you will have to process data. Or wrong overtaking detection and many other issues. Don't think that only mechanical device, some ray will go and detect. These will not be the issues. Many other issues will need to be invoked to take proper decision. When you will have many parameters, definitely you need to use more data, as well as you need to use many machine learning techniques to get more accurate or very good model for this. So this is the data volume. If we consider collect data, key attributes, you have to consider these are the actually data, nothing. Then this data will be transmitted and secure data center. Then we have to perform several analysis. Then we will give the result. Actually, data science and machine learning is almost running in almost all intelligent systems nowadays. So if we consider healthcare data, this is also a big scenario in case of healthcare data. In this case, you will find data can be collected, analyzed using the data science and machine learning tools. Then in case of smart agriculture, you have to collect data, then you need to process data, then you need to analyze this data. So what are the challenges? Actually, these challenges, I am considering the perspective somehow considers generalized perspective, but mainly focused as I am from Bangladesh or from a developed country. This is the focus on that. Actually, we are telling a lot, but doing not we are not doing so much. So technical, we need reliability, scalability, connectivity, cost, capacity, innovation to boost local industry. This is very important, but we have nothing like that. Then hybrid standards, interoperability, security, privacy, many issues will be there. Computing power constraints, it is also a big issue for us. Then we have the policy, lack of policy, we are facing difficulties. Yeah? These are the consideration, although many of these we have already addressed and we need some other issues to address. So what immediate need? Academic collaboration, technical observation, innovation, open source, then proper funding for research. It is very important, research related. Then we must have to arrange hands-on training with pay for our young researcher students, data science and machine learning tools. They must be familiar, they must know how to use very good tools, then how to deal with Internet of Things related tool, big data related training should be efficient training. I should give a strong focus again. You need efficient training. So after training, what they learned, how they are using their knowledge, it should be ensured. In our country, many trainings are going on. But after training, what is happening? What is the scenario? Those got the training, how they are doing? Actually, this is not well monitored. This is a problem. So we have very good training as well as we have to deploy this. So what can we actually, if you want to do? Nowadays, big data framework or naval framework, many of us are doing, but everyone can try by his own. Document analysis, social network data analysis, public safety related issues, pollution monitoring, weather monitoring. In these cases, you need to consider IoT related data and you have some model for analyzing. Then community, cloud computing, then cyber healthcare, all these actually data science, machine learning related domain. I have some focus on my data science, social network data analysis to detect terrorist activities. Actually, Sabir Hussain, he was actively involved in this research and he has a very good contribution. Acquisition and analysis of species to identify suspicious contents. Actually, it's another very good research outcome from my team. Hope it will some other good news we can give about this research work. Heterogeneous data analysis of social networks. Then behavioral pattern analysis. Then impact of social networks in society. Users trajectory analysis. These are the ongoing research or research we have already conducted. Many of these, in fact, all these we have some publication, good publication in good venues related to this. Then document data analysis, corpus development, summary generation, plagiarism detection, question answering system. We have developed some system with many limitations. Actually, any system will have limitations. But if you reference this, say how we have did this, you will get some guideline and you can improve this. Then recommendation systems. It is a very big domain for us. And that when you are considering recommendation domain, you must have to deal with that means data science and or machine learning techniques. And or you always it is not necessary to adopt machine learning, but you can do this. Then categorization of videos. These are the recent research trend for us, although we have done some, but accuracy or outcome is not so good so far. So how will you start? As a researcher, this is the common question I am adding here. These are the common questions. Who, in which domain, it's not that important. The process is initiated with a question or problem. You have to consider the problem or question. You must have thinking mind. Always you have to think. You need to think out of box. Traditional thinking will not help you to develop you as a good researcher. Goals and objectives. When you find, okay, this can be a potential thing, then you have to say what I will do. You have to do this. Then you have to design how will I do this. A researcher should always think what, why, how. What, key, cannot, kiভাবে. You have to think in this way. So then you have to develop the research design, or we are considering this as research methodology. Then results should be generated. For generating results, you must have expertise in some tool. So as I mentioned, Python can be a potential tool. Then your results, whether your result is accurate or accurate, you must have to provide proper interpretation and analysis. There are many methods of analyzing your results. This is the generalized. Then you have to creativity. You must have to be creative. So for being creative, you must have enough knowledge in a particular domain. Without creativity, you cannot be a good researcher. So for developing creativity, you have some knowledge. You have to share your knowledge with other. Then you have to find out how your creativity can be formalized in a formal way or in logical form. Then you have to find, okay, whether there are some alternative solutions. If there are, then you have to consider. Then question or challenge assumptions. You have to consider what I am thinking. Is it good? If it's not so good, is there any alternative that is good? You have to consider. Search for patterns or relationships. You have to find this. Take risk. You have to take risk. Research is always uncertain. Okay, it can have good outcomes as well as bad outcomes. So if you are not successful, don't worry, you have to certain level of tolerance, then allow curiosity to grow, set problems aside and come back to them, write down your thoughts, freedom for distraction, some time to think. So these should be considered. That means you must have to be a creative one, to be a good researcher, you must have thinking mind, you must have the mentality of taking risk. These are the actually general words I am saying for all. So a researcher must have very good, that means mindset, growth mindset instead of fixed mindset. So growth mindset means actually you have brain and talent. However, your dedication and hard work, you can do anything. If you have this mindset, you can be a very good researcher. Definitely you can do that. We may have brains and talent and maybe some limitations. However, dedication and hard work can overcome this. Carol Dweck from Stanford University gave this information actually. Yes, and it is true. So you must have a growth mindset. Intelligence can change. You have to think active. If someone criticizes you, take it positively, and based on that, try to do something new. Valuing the process. Okay. If you want to be a researcher, if you are always looking for the result, you may be disheartened in some cases. Valuing the process, okay, you have to check whether your process is okay. If process you are facing some difficulties in the result, you can change the process. If you give the value in process, then you have to satisfying from the growth along the journey. You have to, what is the growing yesterday, you have this outcome today. These are the growth mindset. A researcher must have growth mindsets. So if you want to develop you as a successful data science and machine learning researcher, what will you do? Focus on developing your practical skills. Your practical skills should be developed actually. Now, there is no way. Complete the task way before the deadline. Actually, a submission is coming, but you must have to do earlier. Develop to think what, why, and how. Second point, if you are not completing the task way before the deadline, if your results are not good, your paper writing may be weak, many other issues will arise. So please always keep some time in your hand. Develop to think what, why, and how. It is very important. What, how, when. Okay? Ours. Lord, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also mentioned, think about my creation, think about, open your eyes, eyes, mind, and soul, mind, and see around yourself. You will find many things. You can do many things. Okay, so we can do research. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates many things for making research about this. So create and know, making research and know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So create a group and participate in brainstorming at least once in 3 months to solve a problem. Actually, for researchers, they should have a strong group, and among the group, they should have some discussion. At least at least one in 3 months. They will sit together. They will focus a problem. Okay, none of them know that solution. They should find a problem, but they know the problem, but how they can solve this, they are totally unaware. Then so full day they will spend, they will eat together, they will sit together, and they will think together. So brainstorming is very helpful for being a successful research group or for successful researcher. Always try to learn something new. It is very important. Only do not out of box learning. It is important. Don't be a lone wolf. Involved in teamwork. Okay, and it comes already in point number 3. You must have good teamwork. Never lose your curiosity. To be a good researcher, you need to do this. It is true for all. Okay. So it is a knowledge, attitude, and interest. If you consider research, actually we need three components actually important for very fruitful research. At first, personal interest is very important, then good research environment, then good supervisor. If it is these three components, otherwise you cannot proceed in good research. These three are very important. In fact, we have lacking in each of these three major components. Hope we shall overcome this. There are many other issues. Good research environment also involve good funding, good lab environment, many other issues. So how to do good research? Number one, you are a good researcher. That doesn't mean you can do good research if you do not follow a very strong guideline. Choose an interesting area of research. Choose an interesting area for research that attracts you a lot. Identify an interesting research topic. As for example, in data science, you can select some topics like this. As for example, image information analysis for association rule mining can be like this, because there is no such consideration, so many considerations like this. Have some good idea how to improve the state of the art, so that your idea works. Apply it to some examples, prove some properties of your approach, and show that it's better than the current state of art. Do simulation studies and show that your approach is better than the current state of the art. Build a software tool that supports your approach. As a data science researcher, you must have to do this. Do a systematic comparison with other approach to the same problem and discuss advantages and disadvantages of your approach. Write up your results in some papers, which makes these results accessible to the interested expert. So in this case, if you have little contribution, you can try. You have big contribution, you can also try. There are different types of journals, very top ranked journals, but good journals may not be so, and good conferences may not be very high ranked conference. But if you think there are some novelty in your work, you can try for some venues. Remember, do two things must be avoided. Number one, you never submit your paper in any predatory journal. Number one, it will destroy your reputation. Number two, what you will do, you never, that's when plagiarized content should not be in your paper. There should be some tolerance of similarity. As for example, from same paper, you cannot copy more than 7% or 8%, as well as whole paper should not be similar with, should not have similarity index more than 20%. So if this you follow, even your contribution is less, you can publish it in some venues. It may not be very high venue. So as a researcher or as an academician, what should be one focus? One person should focus 1, 2, 3 very, very good publication in an academic year, as well as some reputed publications. Good publication, that means impact factor publication, as well as some reputed publication should be. One is very good. You may not have all the publication very good quality, but you can very top ranked publication, focus for some top ranked publication, as well as 1 or 2, as well as some other publications. Never ignore the contribution of your students. I am focusing if they are undergraduate students, if they have little bit contribution, even give some emphasis, help them to write some ideas, some papers, so to submit some cases. Their small contribution will help them to grow their interest in research. So those who are senior researchers, never ignore the contribution of your new researchers, or those in your lab, or those are working with you. That means encourage them. As you already award during the introduction of this Gobeshok Hote Chai platform, our that means Anchor already informed about the Sabir's contribution with the students when they are in the second year students. They publish more than 12 papers actually in different reputed venues. So this is the issue. So our young researchers, they have talent. They may not publish in the very good venue, but they can publish in some venues. This will definitely encourage their interest in research. So we should never overlook this. So thank you very much to you all. Gobeshok Hote Chai. I am grateful to you to invite me in this platform to share some ideas actually about data science and machine learning related research, because I am working, my domain is actually data science, machine learning. In abroad, if you find IoT, big data, IT for agriculture, multilingual data processing, everything belongs to actually, if you consider it is a strong link with data science and machine learning. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. Actually, probably we are, it's more than 1 hour, I think. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful and motivating speech. Hope that it will be helpful for all of the participants. Now I will read out questions from the comment box. So there is a question from Bapi Ahmed. I'm a diploma student studying electronics engineering from Jenayat Polytechnic Institute, but interested in data science career. I am learning data science and I am good at that. Already worked on some projects. I want to get started with research in data science. Would I able to do? I mean, is it necessary to have a CEC degree? And what kind of research I can do? What should be the approach? Sir.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for starting your research. Actually, even you are in electrical engineering. So at first, I please get very good knowledge in Python. And importantly, it is not necessary to have very good to have a computer science degree. Definitely, it will help, but it is not importantly highly required for you. From any domain you can consider for data science research. So if you give some focus, what have you already done in data science related that is how many, which type of tools you already used, or your familiarity in which tools, that if I have some direction about that, I can give you that. So you can specifically, you can select any domain. As for example, you are considering, if your consideration is electrical, there are many subdomains in your field. As for example, if you consider that means power station development, a smart grid. Have you heard the concept of smart grid? When you are considering the concept of smart grid, in that case, you have to deal with huge data, and then you time series data. You also know about the time series data when you are dealing with time forecasting. As for example, which area I have to provide the better electricity demand forecasting. You can consider this type of issue, or power related issues you can consider. Even you can go outside your track. You can consider location-based services data, improving the services. As for example, you are traveling from one place to another place, which traveler will you select? Or one place to another, you are going, which route you will select? So these can be, there are many options for you. It depends on your interest and properly selection of your, that means tools, as well as properly selection of the topic. In which topic you think you are confident enough. So it's not a big problem to be a data science and machine learning researcher, even though you are not from the CSE background. Even definitely from this background you will get some extra benefits, but it's not a you can easily overcome these limitations.
Thank you, sir. There is also a question: is here in Bangladesh any organization or institute where I can do research related ML or DS under them for experience?
And there are actually, unfortunately, without affiliating with the tertiary level education, such as universities, or if you are not highly associated with some others, it may be difficult for you to get direct, that means direct involvement. However, nowadays we have several platforms, as for example, Gobeshok Hote Chai. This platform, these are helping you how to start your research, how do you get communicate. I am requesting Gobeshok Hote Chai to find out some such type of, that means initiatives where they can get involved for practical research, actually practically involved with this research. In fact, I am not well aware, I am aware about some of the that means research institute, but they are not engaging students or research or people, those are not, that means connected with universities or different organizations. If you are related to some organizations, you may have some opportunity to connect with some research organizations. But in our country, we have not so many. In Japan, there are many research organizations. We have not so much more, so many facilities like this actually. Hope we have to develop this in coming days.
Okay, sir.
Right now, if you want to, sorry, I am just adding one thing. Right now, if you want to do some research, please, you can communicate with Gobeshak Hote Chai. I think Gobeshak Hote Chai platform will take some initiatives, in general, some initiatives, so that those are interested in research, they can be in collaborative mode, collaboration. That's you can develop a website, or you can develop what can I say, you can develop a blog where everyone can share. There will be some grouping, and Gobeshak Hote Chai can play a vital role actually in this. As for example, I am interested in big data research. Who are interested in big data research? So we can be a group. After this group, we can have some brainstorming. We can share our strengths, weakness, and we can go forward together. Then it will be helpful for you. One important thing now, there's very online platform. This online platform is very helpful for you. And from this online platform, you can learn, you can get some direction, and you can even execute your codes, your programs. So although we have not so many in our country, but as we have internet connectivity, global information in the global internet is available, I think we can give a drive, even though we have not many.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. There is another question from Tohidul Islam Masum Khan. Sir, as an EEE student, how should I prepare if I want to build a future with machine learning? Is it necessary to have an idea about data science to learn machine learning?
Okay, thank you very much. Actually, data science and machine learning, these are two integrated parts. So as an electrical engineer, you know about embedded system. Embedded system where software, hardware, these are running at the same time. So actually for machine learning, if you know the machine learning tools and techniques, in fact, you will find some of these tools are also applicable for data science. So learning machine learning tools will also help you deal with data science related tools. So I should not say the dependency, but I think learning one will help to deal with another. So if you know machine learning tools, you can deal with data science. Actually, you can deal with data. Another important thing, how will you start machine learning related research? Before that, you will find a group of algorithms we have also mentioned. You should try how to execute these algorithms. If you know these algorithms, then you will definitely find some area where can you apply your machine learning tools in your domain, even in your power, that means power generation. In that case, you can also forecast what is the scenario of the power station, what will be its longevity. You can also consider this. Another thing, if you consider network is or communication is also a big part. Nowadays, our almost all communication, we have data communication. How efficient, which channel will be most effective for sending this data? You can already, we have some packet forwarding techniques. In that case, you can also consider some machine learning approaches. It depends on your consideration. Okay, if you design a scenario, I think in most of the cases you can find something where you can apply machine learning related algorithms. So actually, it's not for CSE electrical. It can be applied for in any domain, but it depends on how are you thinking your problem.
Okay, I think Tohid will get his answer. There is another question from Amit Lal Dash. In categories of research, AML work can be also in category of AI. Is it true?
Machine learning, definitely we can consider a subset of artificial intelligence. Actually, definitely machine learning is in fact their major class is artificial intelligence. I can say that. Okay, machine learning, it has also some subclasses. We can have supervised learning, unsupervised learning, reinforcement learning. In that, again, there are many other categories. We have artificial neural network. So machine learning, definitely we can treat it as a part of artificial intelligence.
Thank you, sir. There is also a question from Naimul Hassan. I would like to do research on machine learning or data science field. Can you please supervise me, sir?
So can you?
You, sir? Can you please
Oh,
supervise
okay.
me, sir?
So no problem. Actually, it's my pleasure. So you can contact with Sabir or my contact information. How can I write in the chat box? I have a website, arifin.me. If you look at the website of Chuet, yeah, you can and CSC department visit, you will get all my information, okay, and my research areas. Even I have a website. I'm not sure whether we can use chat box. I was not familiar with using this system. Arifin.me, arefin.me. In this website, this is my personal website. You can get information here. I am very active in Facebook. You can mention a message in my Facebook, but when messaging, please give a reference of I was interested to be in contact with you based on your lecture on গবেষণা করতে চাই. Otherwise, I may ignore your message because there are many messages nowadays. So it's not difficult. Mohammad Shamsul Arifin, you go Chuet, search in the Facebook, you can find me. You can visit the website of Chuet as well as Department of CSC. You can find my information as well as you can visit my arifin.me website.
Thank you, sir, for your lot of support. We are very blessed. There another thanking research from Sabir Hussain. Sir, thanks for managing time from your busy schedule. I know how much busy you are. The lectures and the question answer sessions were very insightful. We have planned to arrange internship opportunity for active participation in research. We need your suggestion to implement the idea, sir. This is from Mohammad Sabir Hussain, sir. Sir, there is also a question from Iftekhar Iftu. How can we analyze dataset if there will be different weightage data?
Different
Weightage
noisy data.
Weightage
Oh,
data.
different weightage. I cannot catch your point. Different weightage data means each data that means data is not balanced, or we have to say that means data is noisy, or in some other weightage data.
Yes, sir. How can noisy data set we can analyze?
Yes, noisy data set or weightage data, actually it can happen when that means if you have different types of people, as for example, if we consider they have some different types of profile, how will you categorize them? That is another issue that can also be handled. However, in case of noisy data, in case of imbalanced data, there are many techniques. Imbalanced data is a big problem of handling, because you will find many data sets, those are highly imbalanced. In many other cases, there are many missing values. So for dealing with missing values, there are many techniques. For handling with imbalanced data, we have many other techniques. Actually, discussing with a specific topic will require much more time. So I think if the person who asked the question, he email me or contact with me, I can help you. Even the discussion, mutual discussion, I can explain him the issue. So dealing with big missing data, dealing with imbalanced data, OAT data, actually there are some techniques. Definitely there are good techniques to deal with this. So we can discuss this. That means if you contact, we can discuss. Actually, in this case, discussion of this will take huge time, actually.
Okay, sir. Although I'm a student of physics background, I'm enjoying the lecture. Thank you, Gobeshok Putechai, for arranging the research idea series. This is from Alamin Hussein Rohan. Thank you so much. This is also from Mahmoudul Hassan Moon. Really an informative program. Thanks to the researcher BD. Thanks to all the audience. Thanks, sir. Thanks again for your valuable time. Also, thanks to the audiences for your participation. Our next Research Idea Series 9 will be held on 13 June 2021. The speaker is Professor Dr. Saifur Rahman from Virginia Tech, USA. To get updates of our activities, follow our page, join our group, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are happy to inform you that we are now a family of more than 26,000 members, including group, page, and channel within 1 year only. Stay with গবেষক হতে চাই, be researcher BD, and invite your research enthusiast friends to our platform. Thank you for being with us. Wish you all success and good health. Goodbye.
So thank you. One thing, if you allow about গবেষক হতে চাই, can I say 1 or 2 words or sentences?
Obviously,
if allowed,
obviously.
otherwise. Okay. Thank you very much. Actually, what I want to say, we need many initiatives like you all, গবেষক হতে চাই, that was founded by Sabir Hossain from his very early career of joining as a teacher and his thinking actually. So we need to take it forward with good appreciation to Sabir. Actually, young energetic forces are very helpful to drive our research in right direction, and without actually research we cannot go forward. So Sabir Hossain and his গবেষক হতে চাই এর ক্ষেত্রে যদি বলা হয়, সাবির কিন্তু আসলে আমার কলিগ, বর্তমানে আমার কলিগ, এবং মাস্টার্সও আমার আন্ডারেই করেছে, আন্ডার গ্রাজুয়েটও আমার ছাত্র। তো সব মিলে আমি আসলে ওকে নিয়ে অনেক বেশি প্রাউড ফিল করছি, এবং আমি আশা করছি সে কিন্তু সামনে এগিয়ে যাবে। এবং নেক্সট যে লেকচারটা সাইফুর রহমান স্যার, উনি কিন্তু IEEE আবার প্রেসিডেন্ট ক্যান্ডিডেট। ইটস এ বিগ ফিগার। আসলে সাইফুর রহমান স্যার কিন্তু অনেক বড় একজন ফিগার। ইটস গ্রেট যে সাইফুর রহমান স্যারের মতো একজন ব্যক্তিত্ব গবেষক হতে চাই কিন্তু এখানে টক দিতে আসছেন। অ্যাকচুয়ালি ইটস এ গ্রেট অনার ফর গবেষক হতে চাই, এবং আমি অনেক ফিল করছি যেহেতু সাবির আমার ছাত্র। তো আমার অলওয়েজ এই গবেষক হতে চাইয়ের সাথে আমার থাকবো, এবং আমার যেভাবে যে কোঅপারেট করা দরকার অলওয়েজ আমি করব। এবং যারা রিসার্চার আছেন অ্যাকচুয়ালি তারা এই প্ল্যাটফর্মটাকে আরো গড়ে আমাদের দেশ থেকে তো আমরা একটা প্ল্যাটফর্মকে নিয়ে যেতে পারি ইন্টারন্যাশনাল অ্যারেনাতে, যেটার গ্রহণযোগ্যতা থাকবে, সারা পৃথিবী বলবে গবেষক হতে চাই। হয়তো আমরা ইংলিশ যে নেমটা থাকবে সেটা হচ্ছে রিসার্চ BRBD, ইংলিশে আসে, ওয়ার্ল্ড ওয়াইড রিকগনিশন হবে, যেটা 1-2 বছরের মধ্যে এত বড় রেপুটেশন অলরেডি পেয়েছে। আমরা সবাই যদি একসাথে কাজ করি, বাংলাদেশ থেকে এরকম একটা প্ল্যাটফর্ম কিন্তু ওয়ার্ল্ড ওয়াইড হতে পারে। খান একাডেমির কথা আমরা জানি, তারা বিভিন্ন টিউটোরিয়াল বানাচ্ছে, পড়াচ্ছে, এই করছে, সেই করছে, কিন্তু আমরা গবেষক হতে চাই এই প্ল্যাটফর্মটাকে আমরা সবাইকে সম্মিলিতভাবে যদি হেল্প করি, এটা অনেক এগিয়ে যাবে। এবং আমরা নেটিভ বাংলাদেশি রিসার্চার হই, মানে নন নেটিভ বাংলাদেশি রিসার্চার হই, ইভেন দ্য রিসার্চার ফ্রম ডিফারেন্ট, আমি মানে বাংলায় বলে ফেলেছি, ইভেন ফ্রম ডিফারেন্ট কমিউনিটি, ডিফারেন্ট কান্ট্রিজ ক্যান হেল্প দিস গবেষক হতে চাই প্ল্যাটফর্ম। অ্যাকচুয়ালি উই হ্যাভ নট সো মেনি প্ল্যাটফর্মস. So actually one day I want to say গবেষক হতে চাই as a global platform of that means 1,100, that means people's platform. Even it can be 10 million people platform, 10 million researcher platform. I am dreaming and I hope one day গবেষক হতে চাই will achieve this goal, inshallah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for this kind of support. We will end our live session. Wish you all success and good health. Goodbye.
Thank you.